Hey guys, and welcome back. It's the next morning after getting the engine all buttoned up and together. So I'm going to start the process of stabbing that back in there and see how she goes. So we're going to do our best we can with 1.5 limbs here and go for it. Let's give it a shot. Remind me that it doesn't have any oil in it. Yeah. Trying to remember how it came out. Well, that sure seemed a lot easier than when it came out, didn't it? Get those bolts started and get all the brackets on. Brake pedal's going a little on the high side there. See if we can. I already started heating it. See, that's pretty good right there. Got to adjust the rear brakes, but the resting spot looks fine now. Before it was hanging out up here. Oh, that sucks. That would have been a lot easier to fix when it was out. But it is what it is. I'm not worried about getting the correct muffler. All that's got to come apart. I used the old gasket over because this muffler is going to change. But I just want to make sure everything's okay with the engine and trans first. So we're going to continue to move forward. But I got to get in there and drill that sucker out, and hopefully I can do that on the bike. It's going to be close because the drill's going to have to. Murphy's Law. Well, I think it's put back together enough to run it and see how things do. Got oil in it, gas is in it, and battery should be hooked up. Key on. Try some choke. I might have a timing issue. I got something wrong. Let's free of that. Nope, something's wrong. So I'm not quite sure. I still, even again, what I'm trying to find online does not give me a good decisive answer. There's a PDF file that I looked up on, and it says to put the cam in and then rotate it to top dead center. But my opinion, top dead center is going to be where the two lobes are facing downward, you know, on the power stroke. So that's what I did, and I put it around. Right now, I just kind of took it apart and I rotated it so the cam is now 180 from where it was. Then I'm gonna put the points back on, put the cover on, and see if that was the issue. Try it again. Choke's off. Ticking's coming from. Sounds like valve adjustment. I think the piston is hitting the top of the cylinder, top of the head. That just sucks. So there's a clearance issue with this guy. So I took a little bit of a break and I had to regroup my thoughts. Dug out the Honda 350 and took that to the dyno. That's running really nice. I got to change oil in it. It's a little hard to get into neutral when it's running. The clutch is kind of dragging a little, though I forget what I put in for oil. The weight might be just a little heavy on that. But other than that, things running really nice. But back to to this. So I was thinking, did I screw up one of the valves when I had it 180 out for the timing? Did that cause an issue? So I popped the caps off. I also watched it run. It has plenty of oil flow to the top. I kind of pushed on the top of the valves, and you know, there's absolutely no binding. They feel perfectly fine. And if I bent the valve, it wouldn't run at all. It wouldn't have any compression. But there's no, yeah, I thought maybe like the one was hanging up on the return, but they seem to be fine. And the other issue is when I went to go shift it, it does shift around on the other side. But when I went to go shift it, it seems like it had all the gears, but sometimes it didn't want to like return to the neutral position, and you had to kind of like, you know, manually do it. And you shut it off, it seemed like it did all the gears without being an issue. So there's two problems. I think there was an issue with what I got set up with that little selector right there. I think a spring or something is not in the right location or not detented correctly. I don't know. So there's a problem there. And I think we have an interference problem here. And of course the stud that broke off there, I can take care of course, when the engine's out. So, am I disappointed? Yeah. Yeah, of course you want it to go right, and you want it to be able to continue on and finish the bike. But that is what happens in life. It's just the way it is. So no sense crying about it. And I figure I'll start taking the engine back off again and look into the cylinder head and see what's kind of going on with there. I think this can be fixed by taking this side cover off, which is not glued on, and possibly repairing what's going on there. If I find that it is turning into a Eleanor, we still have that bike that we can steal and rob parts from, possibly even use the whole lower end. I don't know yet, but it ain't over till it's over. The fight continues. Well, the one good thing, the second time around, all the hardware is nice and clean and easy, and you're familiar with how everything comes apart and how it comes out of there. So literally 15 minutes later is where we are now. It is out on the bench, ready to take the cylinder head off. And we can go see, hopefully, what happened. We might need to go tappy with something that can go tappy. Let's go plastic mallet. I think the cylinder's trying to come. There we go. You guys see anything? I see. I do see marks on the head. I'll bring you over in 1 second. What's that right there? Why does that hit? Don't know. I'm gonna get separated to get this cover off here, and we'll rotate it to top dead center. We'll see how high that piston sits. Go from there. Suck if I put that in backwards, huh? I don't think so though. Yep, says in. That's the carburetor side. Yeah, I don't know how well the camera's going to be able to see. I don't know if he's trying to. I want the focus. Focus down here, not on the studs. How about? Don't know. The screen now I'm looking at is 1.5 inches by 2 inches, so you may or may not be in focus. But anyway, so here's what's going on. Right here, the valve was hitting. And this right here said in, and now the in is kind of flattened out. So the valve was smacking off of that. Why? This is why. Because the piston that was in it was a flat top. The piston set is in there now is domed. So I have a feeling, you know, I dealt with the recess here in the cylinder head was different. I have a feeling like this is really probably for like a little bit later generation bike, maybe, I don't know, 73 and up or something. And they just try to say that it fits all of them. Does it physically fit in there? Yeah, it fits. Hits, but it fits. So what do I want to do to fix that? My thought, pull it away a little bit. So my thought is to take and pull the jug back off again, and I do have 2 base gaskets. Try stacking another base gasket on there and getting a little bit more clearance out of it. I don't know if that shows up. I might show it up a little better. You can see the IN of the IN is really flattened out almost like a pancake. So it doesn't look like it was hitting by much. It doesn't look like it bent the valve at all. I don't see anything on the cylinder head. You can kind of see like a little bit of aluminum mark on the valve, but I don't think that is going to be damage to anything. It was still running, still like compression. It wasn't like it bent it, you know, totally. So I think that might be what we do, is that we're going to go lift this jug back off. I will restack another gasket on it, maybe bolt the cylinder head back down and try spinning it over by hand and see if we run into any interference. So that's where I am. see if we can get that thing off of there. And we want it like that. I'm going to eyeball that a little bit. I just want to make sure everything looks like it's okay. And then we'll get it on top. I think I do a little side by side before I slide the jug back on. And this guy, we will call that one. We're going to go call that on the 80. And this one is 10 thou shorter deck height, and we'll go measure the gasket that we're going to go put on there and see what the thickness of that is, and hopefully that's about another 10 thou, and maybe we'll recoup that, but there is a difference between the two of them. So I measured the added gasket and it's 20 thou thick, but I think I want to stack the deck a little bit more in my favor, so we're just going to do a little bit of try that. So I ran a tap down inside it. Figure we'll. I tried finding I stopped at the local hardware store to see if we can get a stud. They didn't have any long enough that diameter though in metric. So unfortunately I had to go for the threaded rod. I also tried finding a bolt that was would have enough threads on it, but I couldn't find anything. They all had about an inch of threads. I needed about 1.5 inches. I'm gonna call it right there. I'm gonna cut that with a whiz wheel and then run the nut off of it, and we're just gonna have to be gingerly when we're putting it back together. I'd say right about there. I'm going to doctor that up before I take that off of there a little bit. Good as used. So I got that cylinder head back on, and when the screws are straight up and down, that's the top dead center. So I'm kind of just rocking it back and forth, and I do not feel anything. You go all the way around, then I hit the valves, you know, they're going to have resistance. So I guess the only thing I can do is really kind of hope for the best. You know, if I continue to have problems after that, it's probably going to end up going back to the original piston and cylinder. But I think now I got to spin it around and look into why the shift does not want to return to its neutral position and see if we can figure out what's wrong with that. So I want to take a look at the shift fork mechanism right here, and this is the part spike. I got the screws out of the cover. I figure we'll go pop that off. I took the spark plug out. It's nothing but solid rust on the inside, so that's why it's seized up. That cylinder is not going to move anywhere very easily. I also see blue RTV in the red RTV in this cover, rather. Let's see. Oh, yeah, so that means somebody else was already in here. Okay. Hard to say. I'm going to scoot down there and get myself a better look and go from there. So I looked at the other bike, took that one apart, and just wanted to feel the resistance of this guy. This guy right here goes on this, and that's what ratchets the gear select forward and back. The problem was it wasn't going back to, like, so this is the shifter. You put your foot underneath it, you ratchet and it goes back to center. Ratchet and it goes back to center. Go down, you go down the gears, it goes back to center. It would go through all the gears, but it wasn't returning. And what happened was this shaft pushed backwards, and you can see like the double set of springs. You actually can kind of see how it's bent off its center. It's not even, you know, that one's not even square. Well, that's supposed to get tabbed onto right there. You see where the wear is on the case. So I think that had slipped off and the shaft had dropped down a little bit and I wasn't aware of it. So I'm going to do my best. I'm going to try pushing this one back in and see how it lines up. These two tongs line up. I'm going to even try bending that one back. If that does not work, I am just going to steal the one out of the other one. Fortunately, it comes right out. Probably better look at it there. They're kind of offset right now. So you see how beat up the end of that is. So I would say that is what my issue is with my shifting, hopefully. Again, it's a learning experience for me too, so it's not how fast you get the job done, although you want to get it done, but I now have an education how all this stuff kind of works and what to look for and that kind of thing. And you guys do too. This camera doesn't like to focus close up, but this is the one that was in there. You can see how that one's bent on an angle. I tried bending that one back. It didn't work. I was able to install it, but what happened was it ended up pushing, because they're bent like that, it widened this up and it made it so that there was like play back and forth. Where you look at the gap of this one, it's more the same diameter as that aluminum boss that was on there. So I ended up pulling this one out. We're going to go install this one instead, and this will go into the other motor for future parts. But that was my issue. I am definitely hoping. Alright, so we're back together, and you can see like how that wants to return now. Well, if I go the other way, it's gonna. Yeah. You can see how it kind of wants to return. It wasn't doing that before, so and I couldn't see it because it was behind these two plates back in here where the issue was. That seems to be a lot better than what we had. I may go throw the shifter on it, kind of bump it around a little bit, but again, without the motor spinning, it doesn't work that well. I'm more confident than than not. So I'm gonna get that cover back on and get the engine back in, and let's go try round 2 and see how it makes out. So motor's back in, and the 8 crate's empty, so that means everything went back in it, and it looks good. Just went and had to run and go get some oil for it. I drained it out again, and it's kind of good because when the piston first starts going up and down, it makes a bunch of little fine particles as it's breaking itself in. and this one from smashing the piston off the top of the head too. So it got that flush of oil out of there. Okay. I'm just topping it off, and I think, oh, gas tank, I put the temporary tank back on it. I think we're good to go after that. So let me get that wrapped up, and we can give her a kick, and hopefully. All right, so I'm 50% positive I have the timing right. It's one way or the other. We're good to go. Look, just go with no choke. That sounds better. Exhaust leak, that's okay. We're gonna make a new exhaust. I didn't put the new donut in there, I saved it. Run for a second. Now we gotta do gears. And we get set up for gears. Yeah, it makes me feel better. So everything's working. Trans seems like it's doing what it's supposed to be doing. Again, I got the exhaust leak, but that's we're going to deal with that in its own situation. The weather was nicer. I'd go putt it around the yard. Let me gather my thoughts. So I'm shutting it down for the evening. I think I'm going to leave on a high. All right, nothing's leaking. Everything's working like it should. So I think we're back in business, and still got other things to do. We got chain and sprockets. Of course, when they come off, and look at the brakes on the wheels. Got to make a muffler for it. You know, pull the front off. The front shocks have no dampening to them right now. I do have new seals for them already. Tank's already been sealed and all that. Seats decent, and I think the lights work. So we're getting there. This is a good example of something that is a good learning tool. I remember when I was a kid, someone threw out a Toro. It must have been pretty old, because you figure that was 70s, but I was probably 10 years old, and I tore apart a Toro mower. Well, I tried to get it running, and I got it running. I set it on fire, but I got it running. I had gas leaking all over the deck, and how's the well going around the deck? I had the plug wire off, and I'm looking for spark and stuff, and I lit all that on fire, and ran in the house, put a fire extinguisher, got it out, but I got it running afterwards. But the learning experience of even the fire being stupid is good, and this bike's kind of like the same way. It's something I've delved into that I never have, and you just get to learn how things work, and the mechanicalness of it, and why things are certain ways, and what they do, and when you get a good understanding of that, it helps you on the next project that you go and take apart. Is now you got that education. So I enjoy this. This bike ride's really nice too, so I'm glad I got to push through and make sure it's going to continue on. So anyway, on that, I'm going to go shut her down and get some pizza. Let's see if we can improve upon that just a little bit. He says he doesn't want you staring at him. Well, it's white on one side, but I think we're gonna flip it over because I don't think he wants to stare at that out his back window every day. That guy might not be.
It'll be fine. Whitey.
It's actually gonna be straight up.
This is what happens to this stuff. It's just so thin and papery. There's not much to it at all. Goes away. And that's not old at all. I bought that new to put this here, and camper's been here probably 2 years. But there's the new. When we put it on, you can kind of see a couple of pinholes through it, but you know, where something rubbed or hit it. But it's pretty tough stuff. And they run, it's overlapped on all the way around. So I have just whatever junk metal bars kind of in it running through it, and then I strapped onto them. That one's coming off. And so front and rear has a bar going across it, so it's taut this way. And then on the sides, I may come back and put something in there, but it's pretty tough. There was already holes in it, and I just utilized those to poke through with the bungees. We'll see how they hold up. But I might come back and put something underneath each one to help support it a little bit. We'll see. But that should keep the weather out. And the front is a hybrid. This thing pops out and lays down. It's like a tent canvas. Well, that kind of has a tendency to leak around it, so that's why I wanted to cover that whole section. But it still has enough to keep the camper kind of aired out a little bit. So that should do for 30 bucks delivered. It's actually split the difference. It's 40 bucks delivered. I bought 2 of them. They seem like they should hold up quite well. We'll find out.